So the anniversary update, and particularly the Coliseum game mode, has landed with a bit of a splash, and not necessarily the kind of splash that people like. It's not like when you go to a water park and you go down a really fast ride, right? You go down this slide, you get launched into the air, you've got butterflies in your stomach, you land and a splash and everybody has a good time. No, this is more kind of like the splash when you go to a urinal and you get backsplash from taking a leak. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to give a little bit of context around how this game mode could have been a little bit better, and hopefully how it will be better in the future, as well as just point out one brief little PSA that's a little bit vitally important as it's been brought to my attention. Let's talk about this. So first and foremost, we know that whenever any update comes to this game, it brings a slew of bugs. For some reason, Sith Marauders' lightsabers are just flying in the background. You get that irritating buzzing noise when Bad Batch do their AoE. You know, the one that for some reason gets fixed when you open up a Bronzium with your ally points. I don't understand how this game works, really. It just does weird stuff. Every new update brings new bugs. For example, when we had the Coliseum come in, first and foremost, you know, you couldn't kill the Zepho Tomb Guards at a certain point. You were dealing 1 damage, and they couldn't defeat you either. With the ATST that we're facing right now, there are a bunch of random crashes that can't be fixed unless you force close the app for some reason, which does, by the way, cost you your attempt. One of those, you know, very rare and precious 5 attempts of your day, you can just immediately waste them. But this one over here is kind of a big deal, if you ask me. People are not getting their Coliseum rewards if they engage with the game mode in a particular way. Alright, and this is the PSA, and we will get into the meat and bones, the meat and potatoes, the meat and 2 veg of this video briefly afterwards. But every day when you log in, you do your battle, you get placed on the leaderboards, and you then have a daily Coliseum reward the next day, right? Based on what your rank was. This currency is why we play this game mode. It gives us our newfangled Relic 10 materials, the servo motors, the things we're all supposed to be excited about that's supposed to help us win matches because it's high Relic Delta, and presumably down the road there will be something that requires Relic 10 to unlock, and I don't know how CG is going to implement Relic 10 and unlocks right now because this is far too thin on the ground to try and actually let people get Relic 10. If you are like stuck getting 100 or 50 of this currency a day, you know, heaven forbid you're getting 10 a day, it's going to take you years to get 1 Relic 10. So there has to be, there must be a way of getting more servo motors eventually, because right now there's no way they can embed it into requirements without like completely exclusively locking it out for a lot of people. And that to me just doesn't make sense. So the reason we do this game mode is for this currency, right? Exclusively. That, you know, we're not playing it for the joy, the love of the game, because right now it's just not an engaging mode. So if we are actually going into this thing and we're registering our score, and then the next day, if you go into battle before you have claimed your rewards from the leaderboards, you just might not get your rewards for the day at all. So the big PSA is, when you log in, do not immediately slap down the boss. Claim your rewards by clicking the leaderboard button first, okay? Do that, otherwise you might just get absolutely shafted on your rewards. Hopefully, this is something that is going to be fixed very soon. It says it will likely go out in the next update, but it's still not going to happen until next week. We are in the weekend now, folks. CG doesn't work weekends, neither do I. Technically I do because I'm making a video here with a hangover on a Saturday, so whatever. Anyway, meat and potatoes, meat and 2 veg, what are we here to talk about? Why is this game mode not particularly engaging? And what is actually missing that CG intended to make this a little bit fun? All right, and that concept is actually, I think it's got a couple of layers to it. It's like an onion, you know? It makes people cry. No, it's got layers. Part of it, and I've explained this before, is we are kind of gated by low level. Low level. Nobody wants to go in and play with level 3 abilities. There's just no nuance to it. There's like, your basic is you do an attack. You know, this one's got a little bit of strategy to it, right? Because you're like, oh, who shall I give this bonus turn to? It does different things based on the role of the player. That's kind of cool. I'm down with that. That's good. But it's not enough. Moreover, there's no real synergy there, right? Because although they have given all of these allies the same tags, these kits weren't designed to work together. They weren't designed to complement each other, okay? So, low levels, kind of dull, right? Later levels, I'm sure it'll be a little bit more enjoyable, but there is one feature that CG did mention that is not implemented into the game. As you understand it, when we go into Coliseum right now, and we throw our fisticuffs in, we start having a fight, we get given these summoned units, which, you know, you can't pick and choose. It's going to be Vader, it's going to be Asajj, it's going to be Chewie, it's going to be Inquisitor Barriss, right? They just throw them in. But that wasn't the intention of that game mode. The intention over here was actually to use loaned units, not summoned units. And that is a distinction, because I've spoken with CG about it. And this was supposed to be a case of when you are going into your Coliseum battles, and say we just unlocked Stormtrooper Luke, your selection of loaned units would include things like Stormtrooper Han, Princess Leia, R2-D2, Old Ben. Not necessarily the units from your roster. No, they would be loaned units from an era roster. Not your own, it would just scale essentially to the era level of your main marquee unit, right? So that means when we go into it, we're actually using teams that synergize and work together. So the kits make a little bit more sense, and you get an actual feel for, oh, I now understand how this team is going to operate when it goes into the legacy content, you know, what I like to call the normal game, you know? So that key feature being missing right now is kind of contributing to some of the apathy that we have around this game mode. And CG, they're definitely listening to everything, guys. They're listening to everything. I imagine they've probably seen mine videos and Arnold's videos and every Egnard's videos. Like, loads of people are covering this update. And as well we should, right? As well we should. We are all long-term invested players in this game, and we all want to see this game succeed. We all want this game to be a fun game and an engaging game, right? Everybody is working towards that. Everybody wants that. So they're listening to us, and I'm hoping that they're going to make some changes. They say they are considering some changes to future things, future iterations of Era. Obviously, this one is already set in stone. What we get from now until the end of this era, that's already planned out. But they're looking at what are the learnings that they can make from the feedback that everybody is giving them based on this first era of the anniversary, and how can they make whatever's coming next a better experience for everybody involved. I hope that that's what they're doing. They said they are always listening, right? So I do have some hope that future versions of this game mode will be a little bit more engaging, and I do have some level of hope that as we progress and we get additional marquees and we start to, you know, accelerate that leveling process just a little bit more instead of it being like a snail's crawl like it is right now. We know that when IG-90 comes, for example, the marquee is going to reward on the tier 1 enough materials to essentially take IG-90 straight up to era level 15, right? And then when we get whoever's coming afterwards, I can't remember if it's Yoda and Chewbacca, can't remember the actual order of these characters, but it's going to jump up exponentially in levels every time they come out. Now, I've already given the feedback that I think that slow roll is too slow. I think they need to front load it a little bit more, so that, you know, when you get Stormtrooper Luke, maybe let everybody take him up straight to 15 straight away. Whatever they decide in that terms, you know, that's really up to their discretion, and we don't know any better than anybody else if they're actually going to engage and do that. But that was part of my feedback is, hey, let us skip some of the really dull bits, or maybe just smooth out that leveling process so that it's a little bit more front-loaded. You know, I would rather get straight to like level 30, 40, you know, and then it tapers. So from 30 to 40 takes a lot longer, you know, because right now this just isn't enjoyable. And I'm hoping that as we get more characters, the actual game mode becomes more nuanced and there's a little bit more strategy involved outside of basically, you know, maybe clearing stage 1 and then getting it absolutely trolloped and destroyed without any sort of input. You know, obviously when it gets to a certain point, you're going to lose, right? You are going to fall out, and that's absolutely fine. It's just, we need to make the experience of getting there a little bit more enjoyable. Because if people's first impression of this game mode is that, you know, it's like I'm playing the game from the start again, it's not great. It's not a great first impression, I feel. So, who knows? Who knows? I'm hopeful that when they build out loaned units, it will feel a little bit more organic, a little bit more representative of how that team is supposed to operate in the real world once the kits go live. And I'm hopeful that as we get more and more marquees released in this era, the game mode will become more enjoyable. Who knows? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? I would like your thoughts. Answers on a postcard, please. And by the way, love you. You're handsome. Or you're beautiful. Or you're both. I mean, come on. Have you seen yourself lately?